First time I went full HD today. I got like a new, like I had to sign up for the 7-day trial though.
Oh, well,
Full high def on my end.
that's good. I need to get me some of that. I need to get a new laptop in general.
Yeah, well,
Well overdue.
it's crazy. I had to get a new chair. I got this fancy chair at Costco the other day because my other one, I'd been in my chair for, I've been doing this full time almost, I guess 3 years now. So it's like I'm in my chair a lot, and I just realized like my office chair was like sitting this way. The cushion was warped. I'm like, okay, it's time for a new one.
That's a necessity. Well, congratulations.
On the new chair. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so we'll wait a few minutes here. Usually have a few people jump on and say hello. Are you using a laptop right now, Taylor?
Yep.
Okay, on the left side, do you have the comments section open?
I do, yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure some guests don't realize that we have a comment section. And we're going to be a little more interactive today. I'm going to try to get some questions in from everybody who hops on. So we could have 4 people, we could have 30 people. We don't know, but either way, welcome, Taylor.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Very grateful.
Yeah, episode 28. So Taylor, let's just start off with you giving us a little rundown, a little bio, I guess, if you will. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lil Wolf. Just who is Taylor? Give us a little rundown.
Absolutely. So Taylor, I am a spiritual mindset coach. And so essentially what that means is I help people upgrade their mindset, upgrade their internal state of consciousness so that they can really step into the highest version of themselves and really start manifesting their dream reality. And when I say dream reality, just to specify on that a little bit, I think a lot of the times when we hear those words, we think about the materialistic, right? So we think about our dream house, the car, the perfect partner, perfect relationship, perfect career, money, all that stuff.
Sure.
And those things are awesome and they are valid. And if you intend to manifest those, there's no reason why you shouldn't. But the work that I do is more so on how you feel than what you have. So basically what I mean by that is that we're going to work on the internal state, your beliefs, the stories you tell yourself, your thoughts, your vibration, all of that good stuff. And we're going to shift that. So your reality is going to shift externally because we're shifting the internal, if that makes sense. So all of that great stuff that can manifest. You can get the house and all of that, but I'm telling you, you're going to be frustrated if you don't first fix what's in here because it will not manifest out there. Well, so that's really what I do.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, like the non-physical, the vibration has to be there. The non-physical reality has to be there before it becomes the physical, right? We have to see it, we have to feel it, we have to understand it, that we're worthy, we have to know that it can happen. It's like this 3-step process, maybe not a process, but we go from a thought, and then a thought being a belief, and then a belief becoming an actual knowing. And I think that's when things really start to just happen, is when you know versus believe. I think there's a little gap between the two.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to jump into, we talked about it, calling it woo-woo, but I want to jump into the really good law of attraction, vibration, energy work, because I've like I said earlier, I've fallen off of that a little bit. Like Abraham Hicks was one of the biggest reasons I started to understand vibration, started to understand the law of attraction, right? Like a lot of people, I mean, she's the queen in my eyes. Like, I just love it. I went to see her in California. Esther's just phenomenal. But over the years with shadow work and trauma and healing, I almost pushed, I don't know if it's my ego, I pushed it aside. And only over the last few days, it's so interesting that you're my guest this week. The last few days, I've been blasting Abraham again. Okay. And I've been, on point with a few habits that get me into alignment. And within a day, 2 days, it's like, oh, this is why I fell in love with these teachings so much. And, a few years ago, your whole reality can shift in a day, less than a day.
Yes, instantly.
So what got you into this? Like, where did you find these teachings? Or was this something that was always a part of your life?
I wouldn't say it's always part of my life, no. So I would say that when I really started to dive into it was after my diagnosis with colon cancer, to be honest with you. So that was my greatest awakening for so So many reasons. And if I could just tell a quick backstory.
No, I would say let's go back. Let's start
Yeah.
there for
Yeah.
sure,
So
please.
that I was diagnosed in 2019. Okay. And prior to that, completely different version of myself than I am today. I was somebody that I was not confident. I did not feel worthy. I did not feel enough. I was stuck in the past. I mean, just in this cycle of the past, I would relive it, you know, these experiences that I went through that I perceived as bad or less than ideal. You know, I was predominantly negative. I was anxious. My stomach was upset every day. It was just, I was completely different. And I was that way for like a good portion of my life. I would say like my early teen years into my early to mid 20s. And not really aware of it at that time. You know, it's more so looking back in hindsight and going, holy shit, like that was me. Like that's insane.
Right.
Anyway, so this goes on for some time, and then 2019 comes around. You know, I'm 26 years old. I'm in great shape. I exercise. You know, I eat well. All this stuff. Would never think that anything like this would be my reality. Have a couple symptoms. I go to the doctor. She says the same thing to me. She's like, "Listen, you're young. You're in shape. You know, nothing to worry about. Chalked it up to some basic stuff, whatever." I mean, I had one foot out the door of the doctor's office, and she's looking at me up and down, and she's like, "You know what? Let's just do the colonoscopy. Let's just be rather safe than sorry. Let's just go for it." And I'm like, okay. Looking back now, I mean, that exact moment was divine intervention, 100%. Because
just as you said it, I knew too. It's like, yep, that was a moment. Oh, everything is like,
yeah, absolutely. And at that time, like, I'm frustrated because, you know, I'm like, listen, I don't like doctors. I don't like going to the doctor. I don't like thinking something's wrong with me. I thought this would be the end of it. You know, now we got to go get this other test, and now I got to be anxious about this and all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But what, you know, it was divine intervention. It was awesome. 2 weeks later, we go do that. Of course, they find something, right? At this point, they're not sure what it is. So they do the biopsy. I go in the next day. My mom and I go into the doctor's office. I'll never forget. Doctor comes in. She's so awesome, by the way. She's Dr. Vogel. She was a most positive person. That's obviously so important when people are going through this stuff. But I mean, that's a kickstart to healing in and of itself.
Yeah.
But she comes in. She does her small talk. You know, she sits down next to me. And she puts her hand on my knee, and I'll just never forget. I knew as soon as she did that, I was like, here it comes. And she says the words, you know, this is cancer. I am going to try to explain to you in this moment how I was like an out of body, but in body experience at the exact same time. I heard it. The human in me started to panic. You know, I started crying, hyperventilating, all that stuff. But at the very same time, it was like I had this sense of calm just come over me. And it was like I literally heard, it's okay. And it was so weird because I'm like, I shouldn't feel like it's okay right now. Like,
right. So you're fighting the ego going, you should feel this way.
Exactly. But it was like this wave of calm. And, you know, like my mom, she's got her arms around me. She's, you know, hugging me. Oh, you're going to be okay. All this stuff. It was in that moment, like, that exact moment that I just realized where my mindset had been for so long and that I created this. And that's my true belief. I created this because this is the way I was. I was so low vibrational consistently. And I knew in that moment, if I created this, then I can create a reality that is not this. Go ahead.
In that moment, you're telling me you are aware in the moment of diagnosis that you created this.
Instantly aware. It was like the most trippy, insane thing that I ever felt. And that's why I had this calm, because I was like, it was just such a realization. And so, you know, 30 minutes go by, we leave, I walk out, and the panic was gone. I mean, it really was. Of course, I had my moments as time went on, you know, I'm human, you know.
Your human sneaks in, yeah.
Exactly. But the panic really was gone. And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to fucking kick its ass. I'm going to tell you that much right now. And I knew right there, I had to get my shit together. There's like, life was too short. I'm 26 years old. I got a lot of life ahead of me. This is not going to take me down. I could either take on the identity of a sick person, or I could take on the identity of a healthy person. Which is it going to be? And I just immediately, right then and there, was like, I'm manifesting a reality where I'm healthy and I'm in shape, and this is not my reality. So
Right.
that was where I really started to dive into laws of attraction. It's
Right.
really like get into my spirituality. And I think I mentioned to you earlier, you know, I was always so afraid to do that because, you know, judgment, you fear judgment. I fear rejection. I feared rejection. And people think it's, you know, woo woo, and they think you're going crazy and they don't understand you and they don't want to even listen to it. So then you feel like, why am I even talking about this? But it was at that point where I was like, that's it. Like, I know I'm here for a purpose. I know this is written in the stars for me. I know that this had to happen for me to have this realization and this awareness. And I know that I was going to one day be able to tell my story and be able to help people. And that's what I'm doing today. And so it all came full circle.
So that was 2019.
Yep.
And do you mind touching on kind of your journey from the diagnosis to where you're at today? Like, what did that entail? Like, what did that look like? Was that treatment? Was that?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, for sure. So I was very, very, very lucky, very grateful to say, caught like on time. There's that divine intervention again.
Right. Yep.
So it was a stage 1. So thankfully they just cut it out, and you know, I didn't have to undergo treatment or anything like that. But that's when I really started to dive into meditation, to daily gratitude, to, you know, journaling, every single day journaling. That's my biggest piece of advice to anybody, just like in general, is to journal, because it allows you to reflect on not just the challenges that may have happened in that day, but all of the good things too.
The beauty,
and
yeah.
You and I both know how important, you know, gratitude is, but
yeah,
it was at that point, and it was just like, I switched up my mindset. I really started observing my thoughts. I started to realize how predominantly negative they were. And I started to question, like, why am I thinking like this? Why in the hell am I telling myself that I can't do something, or that this person's not going to like me, or that this person's going to judge me? Why the hell do I even care if this person's going to judge me? You know? And so it was at that point, you know, I hired a coach, and it was a shadow work coach, and he kind of helped me go through that stuff. And addressing those shadows and those limiting beliefs was incredible. I mean, an absolutely incredible experience. You learn so much about yourself. It's scary. There's parts of yourself that you don't want to face.
Of course.
There are pieces of you, the traumas, the stagnant energy that you hold on to that you want to feel, you know, but growth is found outside of your comfort zone. And it's crazy sometimes to think that you yourself is what's making you uncomfortable. But once you face it, it's your entire reality changes, and you feel so free, and you release so much. So that's essentially like how that whole thing went. And then, I've been great ever since. I've been in a great state of health. But I attribute a lot of that to the change in my mentality, the change in my internal state, because like I said, I was healthy prior, you know, I was active. Oh, I'm a runner. Oh, I eat plants. I do this.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm interested to find out, like, okay, you get your diagnosis, then you started changing your mindset. You started diving into the laws of attraction, or these laws of the universe. What was it that, like, did you know about these things? Was it kind of like, or was it just like you dove into, I need to find something? Like, how did that happen?
I think I always knew about it. Even since when I was like a little kid, my mom always cracks up and we joke about it, because I remember being in the passenger seat of her car and looking up at the stars and saying, "Hey mom, what was the universe like before it was the universe?" You know?
Right.
She'd be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, like it couldn't have just been like nothing, because nothing has to be something, right? So like, what was it? Like, where did it come from?" So I feel like I always just had these like natural, you know, like connections to source, to creator, to higher power. And so I knew that energy obviously energy existed, and I was always interested in it. I think for a very long time, I blocked myself from even learning more about it because of the stigma that it holds, to be completely honest.
Right.
Like, this is crazy, you know, like that's not real. Like, what do you mean that I could just tune into the frequency that I want and I can get the reality? You know what I mean? Like, that made no sense. And people played it off like it was, what do they call it? Pseudoscience or whatever.
Right. Sure. Yeah. What they can't explain can't exist. Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're starting to explain a lot more in physics as well. So, but
Well, it's funny you say that because like that's what it was for social media for me. Is like I got on TikTok, I started talking about my awakening and my experiences with these laws and this energy and channeling and you name it, and it's like so easy. And then it's like getting called out by a few people going, well, why don't you share this on Instagram? We see you on Instagram, but you don't post this stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and I remember I can remember like myself like scrambling inside, going, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm scared. I'm
Yeah.
scared of judgment.
All
I'm
this fear.
scared of judgment. And I still to this day still have not fully stepped in to just speaking everything I want to speak. It's happening, it's evolving. And probably by the month, it's changing more and more. I'm able to really just step in and talk about. But it's a process. Like
It
it's
is.
it's really easy to say, oh guys, stop giving a shit what people think. Fuck. It's
Yeah.
like that's an easy video to make, but
It's
do you
very
really
easy.
embody it?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm right there with you. I even have family members that like I haven't even really dove into that side of me yet because I still have this ego that says, well, they won't understand
Of
you.
course.
They're not on your
Yeah.
level. They're not gonna. And it is a process, but I've also found, it's gradual. Like I kind of
Yep.
said to you earlier, growth is ever evolving. That's what's so exciting to me. It's exciting. I'm at the point now where I wake up excited every single day to see what's next for me, to see what I do to push those limits, what I do to get out of my comfort zone. What's it going to be? How's it going to feel? What opportunity is it going to bring me? There's so many little gifts in every single day for everybody. All
I
you
love
have
it.
to do is see
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
and be willing to open and receive them.
That's such a sweet spot. When you can find yourself being excited for not knowing what's coming, I think you've found a pretty good vibration right there, because it's easy to get excited for the manifestation that's coming. It's easy to get excited for the results. It's easy to get excited about the money, the car, or the whatever it is. But to get excited just to get excited, like that's like Esther talks about that, or Abraham talks about that. If you
Yeah.
can just get excited for the juiciness of life and not knowing what's coming, then you're in a vibration of like, oh my goodness, like there's no resistance.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and I look back and I'm like, why isn't everybody like this? Why wasn't I like this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, why would I want to live my day any other way than to
Yeah.
just be in the moment? And again, we're all human. We all have our times where we get caught up, but predominantly just be in the moment and just be open, and that's one thing that I explain to people a lot too, is like, I think what a lot of people do is they try to manifest specific things, specific
Yeah.
outcomes, specific destinations.
Sure.
That's when you do that though, you take the enjoy the journey part out of it.
Out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
You're looking for
It becomes the result only.
exactly. You're looking for a means to an end instead of an end of itself. Step
Exactly.
into a version of you
Yeah.
that is authentic to you because it's who you are. It's not because it's going to get you, 100K a year or $1 million house or whatever. It's just because it's who you are. And that's when you become the most magnetic. So, I try to explain that part of it to people as well. All that stuff will come, it'll flow to you. You will be so shocked at the opportunities that present themselves, but you can't put your laser focus on it has to be down road A. It has to go this way, because you're going to get frustrated. I guarantee that's not the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
And if
That's
you're
the thing.
open to going a different way, it turns out better than you could have ever imagined.
That's everything I could have said about it, because it is what I've seen time and time again. When you are in the flow, you are not worried about how. You are just in the now. You are embracing every moment you have as much as you can, knowing that it's coming. It's like you let go of the how, because when you try to rationalize your manifestation, when you try to put the pieces together of how it's going to arrive, whether that's the job or the money or the whatever it is, the relationship, you put resistance to what is trying to happen.
Exactly.
The universe has the pieces. Like
Exactly.
you far beyond your control and understanding. Let the universe, source, God, whatever, take care of that. You trust in raising, keeping your vibration in a knowing place, in a happy place, and enjoying and just kind of letting go of the how and let the pieces fall.
And the cool part about what you just said is that I truly believe every single person that exists right now can relate to that, because every single person has an event in their life that did not go the way that they planned it to go. And it may have been painful at the time.
Yep.
It might have been confusing. It might not have felt good. But every single person has that event where they look back now and they go, I'll
Wow.
be damned. If it didn't happen that way, I wouldn't have been where I am today. And I love where I am today.
Well,
Every single person can relate to that.
I have a good friend who just got engaged to his everything. And before that marriage he was in before fell apart, and it was the hardest thing. Couldn't believe it. It was a disaster. And I remember the pain and that he was going through and everything. And I look now at these pictures of him, and I'm like, wow, like what a perfect example of that, of like, your world is falling apart. How can this be happening? But you don't see what's down the road for you. You don't see what's trying to come in.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's been happening. I think you're right. I think everybody has that moment or those moments of just like, oh my God, this is all falling apart. And then it clears the way for what is even more aligned to what you truly desire or want.
Absolutely. And just understanding that concept, understanding just that concept makes dealing with life's challenges, in my experience and in my opinions, so much easier, because when you start going through that pain, you think of that. I tell myself, one of the greatest things I ever learned was there's no sense in worrying, because you have no idea what the best case scenario is. You have no idea. No, you might think you know, but you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. You have an idea of what you might want to happen, what may be ideal, but you have no idea. And so if you can just accept what is, just accept what is, don't try to battle it. Don't try to control it. Just accept it. And like you said, just kind of put your trust out there. You're going to find that so much good comes to you. And it might not be immediate, it might be a couple months down the road, but it's going to fall in line, and you're going to understand why it happened the way it did. So yeah, just being open to receiving, open to new opportunities is so huge for manifesting and just for growth in general.
Yeah. Like, and coming from someone who has, when you get the diagnosis of something as serious as you did, like, a lot of people would be like, well, it's easy for you to say, but you didn't get this, or you didn't get this information or that diagnosis, but you did. And so you were still able to pretty much, I'm sure, like you said, your humanness came in, some panic and some worry, but you were still able to accept that pretty quickly.
I was able to accept it very quickly. Yeah. And it's funny, like my dad said to me when all was said and done, he was like, Tay, I don't know how the hell you stayed as positive as you did. He said, if I got that news, I would say it's over. I'd say it's done. And I was like, Dad, that's the point, man. You can't do that.
Exactly.
You can't. Once you go into that identity, like you take that on, it's going to take you over, and you have to just be able to break out of that. And on top of that, I'm not a doctor by any means, not a medical professional. Go see your doctor if you got things going on, but cancer in and of itself has such a specific stigma to it, but it's actually kind of like a common thing now. You know what I mean? Like, it takes lives. It's serious, obviously, but I did genetic testing afterwards, because they were like, what the hell? Why did you get this? Is this in your genetics? Whatever. Because there was no reason why I should have gotten this, right? And the geneticist said to me, because I had no genetics, none, for any cancers, thank God, but so I was just kind of talking to her, and she said, like, research is showing more and more genetics is like 2% of the time. The next 98% is your environment.
Epigenetics.
Yes. And that's not just what you're eating, and that's not just your exercise, but it's what's in here too.
The environment of your cells, it's how your cells are reacting. If it's fight or flight, if it's fighting all the time, if it's in a lower vibration, that's the reality.
Your cells react to every bit of vibration from your body. Every thought you have, it is like an instant reaction. And that's why I say, and that's why I know that I manifested it, because it was continuous. It was just continuous. And if I may, real quick, are you familiar with like pranic healing? Pranic healing?
Pranic, you said?
Yeah.
No. Tell me more.
So pranic healing is essentially like energy healing, your own energy, and moving stale energy and putting new energy in. And so after I got diagnosed, I'm a naturopath, and I was into spirituality. So like, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I went to this crystal store. They had some
Yes.
people that were, crystal stores are my jam. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
of course. I think all of us here watching, I think we're pretty much resonating with that right now.
Absolutely. We have so many good ones here in Michigan too. But anyways, so I went in there and I was like, yeah, I want to set up a pranic healing session. And I didn't tell them why I was there. I just said I was interested in it. And so the guy goes through, the ceremony and the session, and he's doing his thing. He's got his eyes closed. He's got his crystals in his hand. He's moving energy all around. We're doing meditations and all that. At the end, he gives me the synopsis, overview of the session, and he says, "Yeah, so he said I cleared a lot of energy out of your solar plexus, which is in this area right here." And I'm going, okay. And he said it was like really rapid. So the way he explained it to me was, your chakras, your energy vortexes are kind of supposed to be just, very casual. And he said, in this, your solar plexus was like rapid, just like going, going, going. And he said, are you holding a lot of anger there? And I was at the time. I was holding on to anger and resentment and feeling unworthy. And a lot of that had to do, I didn't talk to my dad for 6 years. That had a huge impact on me. Not his fault, not my fault. It was just a thing that happened. And grateful we have a great relationship now. But at the time, I held on to a lot of anger and resentment because of that. I had a relationship that, failed, and I was holding on to that. And so I was like, that is absolutely insane. And I looked at him and I said, you know why I came here? And he goes, why? And I said, I got colon cancer. The tumor's right here. And he said, yeah, that makes sense. Just like so casual. He was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, I don't even know where I was going with that story, but just holding on to that energy, holding on to all of that and not releasing it.
Well, it's 100%. Yeah.
So much damage, your body responds.
The amount of trauma that I see released during hypnosis with my clients, the emotional release that happens often ends up being a physical release. So like, it's actually it's hip pain, it's chronic shoulder pain or locked up shoulders or jaw. We hold these emotions in different parts of our bodies and we don't even know it. We normalize this tension.
Yeah.
A lot of it's from our inner child, it's from trauma. It's from these things that we've been through but haven't processed. So that's why it's so important to do the work. However you achieve it, like however you go into it, whether it's hypnosis or pranic healing or different ways, I think there's always different pieces that you can bring into this sound, like you name it. But a lot of people don't really truly understand how these emotions are really trapped in our physical bodies, in ourselves.
They are, and you can feel them. And even just a simple meditation, I'm talking a simple one, like 5-10 minutes, you can feel the release.
Oh yeah.
And just crying, screaming when you have to, just getting that energy out, is so, so important. And that's again, something everyone can relate to because we've all been there. We've all had a hard cry. We've all been upset, and as soon as you're done, it's just like, man, damn, that feels good, So yeah, it's very important to do the work. And like I said earlier, it's scary. It's hard to face those parts of yourself, especially those emotions that you felt for a quick tick and you're like, oof, don't want to feel that again. All right, pack that down. You're very hesitant to bring that back up, but doing it it's the best self-care you could ever have.
Well, it's interesting because when those triggers happens, that's when the shadow loves to surface, right? And for me, those habits, it's like I got to ask you, like, how did your shadows surface? Like, what kind of habits, if you want to, divulge that, what kind of habits did you fall into, like, for coping or soothing? Was there anything toxic, or was it all pretty?
I really don't think I did anything physically toxic. I think it was mentally toxic. It was very, I had like I said, I didn't talk to my dad for 6 years, and we just had such a big misunderstanding for such a large chunk of my life. He has his own shadows that he makes peace with someday, but and that was being projected onto me as the child and all that stuff. And anyway, the way my shadow would come out was something would trigger me, if it's like I had an argument with even a friend or something like that. And somehow every single time, I could burn my toast and somehow I would be in my head like, your dad doesn't even care about you. So why would I?
Right. Yeah.
And that awareness piece was huge for me too, just to be like, yo, like
the madness of it, right?
there is something in here that
Right.
needs to get out, because you
Yeah.
can't be like stubbing your toe and then saying that you're not worth shit. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't even
No.
make any sense. But yeah, and then when I did that shadow work, just really diving deep and getting into I'm not sure like the shadow work that you've done, but the way I was taught and the way I learned and what I do is like you talk to it. You continuously talk to it and you let it speak.
Oh,
And
you're
it
gonna laugh at this after I'm done.
yeah, but go ahead.
Well, I was talking to a friend yesterday and talking to another friend today about the same thing, and we were talking about like alcohol for me was a big thing through my 20s. Like, I mean, I partied a ton, like,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
alcohol has kind of snuck its way back into my life throughout my journey, and not and now even in my journey where it's snuck in over the last few years, not getting drunk, but enough to go use it to soothe, like to have 2 or 3 drinks to kind of get that, that little bit of a buzz. And I was talking to a friend. I'm like, 2023 is going to be like, I've committed to some big goals, and we're talking about my shadow. And I said, there's this beautiful thing that happens when you feel the trigger, the urge to go into the old pattern, which
Hmm.
for me was be drinking or soothing in one way. Someone can be food, it could be porn, it could be
Yep.
any way to. The feeling comes, and it's like, fuck it. What do I do to not feel this right now? That's
Yep.
basically what we do.
Yep.
And it can manifest in so many different ways. And there's no judgment on how you soothe. That's one thing I got to say. But it's something that's to be said to go, oh, and it's like putting your shadow on your lap and saying, I love you. And I understand and I realize what you've done for me in the past. Thank you for soothing me. Thank you for bringing me relief. But I know there's a better way now. Like my heart knows, my soul knows there's a better way that we can do this together. And I got chills right now saying it. But
Yeah.
something special happens when you talk to that part of you like that and not go, fuck, no, shit, no, idiot. Oh, I'm such a dumbass. Like, why am I
Yes.
doing this again?
So what's interesting about what you just said is like that's like a more gentle approach than I've heard. Because essentially like what I've done, I've never talked to my shadow like that. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like I've never been like, oh,
Neither have I. This was yesterday. It just kind of came to my
oh, this is just a
awareness.
new thing.
Oh, yeah. Like I was having a
Oh, okay.
conversation. This just started to come out. And I'm like, wait, this is big.
Well, I'm going to try that because I love what you just said. Because essentially, the way that I've been doing it is like when that trigger happens, it's you let it talk. And I imagine it as like a person that I don't fucking like. Like I don't like you. But you know what? Go ahead. You're gonna try to bully me or whatever. Go for it. And I let it talk. And so it says whatever it says. Oh, you're not worthy. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, why not? Well, because you never could do that.
Right.
Well, why would you say that? Well, because like when you tried to, talk to your friend about it, they shut you down. Okay, so what does that matter?
Yeah.
Well, because you fear it, and you just keep going
Right.
and going and going until it has nothing left to say.
Right. I like
And when
that.
you hit that moment in and of itself is fun because you're just like, all right, like you're done now. I heard it all, whatever. I'm not attached to it. I'm about to let it go. And then you destroy it. Then you tell it the truth. And, you tear it down. And that's what I was coached on about 3 years ago. And I really started getting consistent with that. And that's how I was able to identify which of my beliefs are helping me get to where I want to be, the version of myself the highest version of myself, and which ones are hindering me. And just about anything. I mean, not about your worth, about your money beliefs, about love, about, whatever. And about health, you just discover like, where did this even come from? Why am I thinking this way?
Yeah.
And it feels so good when you finally release it. And
yeah,
it's just natural for you to think the opposite or to replace it with something better. That becomes natural.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Then you shift your internal state and now your external starts to shift too.
Yeah, I think there might be a nice balance, a beautiful balance you can have with those discussions with your shadow. You can be that person in your absolute knowing energy and saying, no, fuck off, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I got this. Like we can, but then bringing that kindness and compassion to it because your shadow at one point served you. Like there's something within it. It was created to do something to protect you or something to, like, for me, it soothed like my behavior because of my trigger, my shadow there, it soothed me. It was temporary, but it brought me relief. It brought me something at the time. Now it's like going, look, I get it. I appreciate what you brought. but it's outdated now. We've grown past that.
Yeah. I like
So,
that. No, I really do.
yeah.
I like that more gentle approach. I'm gonna have to ponder that.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I just need the gentleness. Maybe it's just
Well,
easier for me. I don't know.
no, well, and it does depend too. I mean, but in your situation too, like I really never had like a habit in that
Yep.
sense,
Yep.
that I think I turned to like probably like toxic exercise to the point where I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go for a run and then
Sure.
not eat enough. So like that, but yeah, I think your experience with having that habit that you went to maybe just a little bit different than mine, but I could understand, if I did have something like that, taking that more gentle approach and just kind
Yeah.
of like thanking it because like you said, that was something, it soothed you. It helped you get through something at some
Oh
point in
yeah.
time. You don't need it anymore though.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
cool.
yeah, I think it is. And it's just kind of flowed yesterday into two conversations and then today and then obviously with you. So I think it's just pretty good confirmation of this is a pretty important little piece of that. Like when you just be more gentle, because one of my last guests, Shiv Sengupta, who was on my show a few weeks ago, he explained to me at coffee one day about all the beautiful pieces of you that we love, right? I made a video of it. It's like, the we exercise, we eat healthy, we meditate, we do journal, we do all these things. We love those pieces. But if the shadow is just the garbage pieces of you and you don't want to acknowledge, oh, my camera. You still
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, I can still hear
Okay,
you.
hold on here. Like my one camera. What is going on?
It's that
I'm
new
back.
HD.
There we go. Oh, see, we got that's so bright. One camera died, but there we go. That's a little better. So he's explaining how the pieces of you, like we look at one as this spit on them pieces of you, like you don't even want to look at, right? We have shame or guilt. But until we're able to truly explore those pieces, give those pieces light, a space to be heard, felt, they're going
Yeah.
to keep coming back and biting you in the ass.
Yeah. No, I'm with that 100%. Feeling those emotions and facing them, scary or not, is absolutely huge. And like I said kind of earlier, not enough people do that. And it really is just people are afraid to be vulnerable too these days
But
with
it's
themselves, with other people. It's like I don't know. It's like canceled in culture now. It's like you can't just be honest and vulnerable. And everything comes down to fear. You know what I mean? I feel like I've said people are afraid so many times, but that's what it all comes down to. That's what every limiting belief is built off of is
it's
just
fear.
fear. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's getting better. I think there is a culture now. I think there's a lot of people leading the way in vulnerability. I think that's a big part of this show is to give people a platform to share their story. Like you
mhm.
going through cancer diagnosis and owning the shit. Like it takes a different level of awareness to own your diagnosis of cancer and not get stuck in a victim mentality, because that is the easiest place to go.
Very easy. And that's what I mean. Like when that happened, I felt that pull. The human in me won't like literally almost wanted to go there. And it
Of
was
course
like,
it did.
yeah, it was like, oh, what was me? Like let me be the but something else within me was like, no, absolutely not. Like it's just not gonna happen. It's not how this is gonna be. And yeah, and a lot of those techniques that I used back then, I mean, you can apply to anything that you want to manifest,
Yeah.
anything that you want to create. You are the sole creator.
Yeah.
You are powerful. There's nothing external to you that holds any more power than you do. And once you understand that, and not just understand it, but you truly believe it, like you feel that life force going through you, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm energy. I'm part of this consciousness. Like I'm part of the collective. I mean, it's one of the most transformative states to be in. And I think that's when you really take off too. It's just understanding that.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about it today on how much, because when you first start to understand these concepts, that's when life gets really crazy good. Like there's
Yeah.
like almost a honeymoon phase for me. There was like, and it kind of, you fall off a little bit, you get back, you go into your human again, you go into your trauma or your patterns again, you come back out, but you gain awareness every time.
Yeah.
But there's something like, there's got to be like, for me, is like you read that one book that hits, or you watch that one video, or you manifest something for the first time. Like you clearly have put intention towards something and it worked out. And you're like, wait, my energy was a big part here. My vibration that you just started to learn was everything in this. You just want to shake everybody. Like,
Yeah.
who cares if it's called magic, or who cares what it's called this or that or woo woo? Just fucking try it for a month and see what happens to your life. It can be as simple as practicing gratitude every day. Like, that will change your life by at least 50%, if not more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And your spiritual ego almost comes in a little bit too, though, you know. I've definitely learned that is like, I feel like when I first started learning this, just like you said, it's you wanted to shake people, especially people close to you. You know, then you start realizing you can literally see and feel, you know, their shadows, their traumas.
Yeah.
And it's like you understand the power they hold. You understand that you are able to change. You want them to change too, but I found that, you know, in the beginning, I almost probably did come on a little strong to people. I mean,
oh fuck yeah, I did.
even my brother at one point was like,
enough.
You know, like, yo, like this vibration stuff, like calm down with it, you know, like all this stuff. And I was like, we like got in an argument over it one time, but you know, you do some self-reflection. I think self-accountability is huge in growth, and being able to like take a step back and like, you know, obviously. And it's a catch-22 because the way people act, what they do, that's a projection of themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it just is. That's the way it is. But at the same time, you can kind of look at yourself and be like, okay, you know, why did this experience go the way that it did? Am I coming on too strong? Am I letting my ego take over instead of just letting it be and just stepping into that version of me and just being the example? When you're just the example and you're not pushy, I mean, that's when people, you're attractive, you're magnetic. That's when people start to want to ask you questions. How the hell do you do this? You know, what's your mindset like? What, you know, practices have you done? That's when that starts to happen. So, you know, just not being so forward with it is magical.
And that's part of it, is not being forward with it, because you're no better than someone knocking at your door and pushing a religion on someone. It's kind of the same shit. But when you embody it and just be it and just be love and be that and just kind of just be joyful and goofy and having fun with it and light with it, that's, like you said, people are like, how are you, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so bubbly? Why are you so excited? Why like I worked in a prison for 10 years. I was a correctional officer for 10 years.
Oh, no kidding.
So I worked in a really dense place, and I used to get that all the time, walking from front door when I first started tapping into this. And I would walk in like skipping basically. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you happy? Yeah. You know, not everyone, but there's a lot of people like, oh my God, like, because it's like, you got to set the intention. You got to set the tone and know that you can bring that anywhere you go.
Yeah. And, you know, one of my favorite things too, that I always refer back to is just the simple concept that people are always doing the best they can with the level of consciousness they are at.
Yeah.
And you understand that too. You know, it's okay you can give advice. You can try to help somebody, you know, see the pieces of them that you're seeing. You can have the intention to want to help them get to the best version of themselves, but you have to understand you're not seeing life through their perspective. You're not you're not thinking what they're thinking, feeling what they're feeling. They're doing the best they can with where they're at. And when they're ready to grow forward, they will, one way or another, whether it's through you, through themselves, through another stream of, you know, content that they're watching or whatever. Yeah. They will take those steps when they're ready to. And that, being the example, just like you said, being light, having fun with it, huge. Yeah. And that's what gets people engaged.
Yeah. Well, you said it. You said an interesting point. Like, you just don't know what someone else is seeing through their eyes and going through in their perspective. And even if it's your brother or your sister, who you would think lived a very similar life. Well, there's a video of Gabor Mate, who's, I think, one of the best doctors, one in the mental health field, talking to a woman saying, well, why did my brother, who had the same upbringing as me, end up this way? And I ended up this way. And he said, you did not have close to the same life. You don't know what it felt like to be the firstborn. You never knew what it felt like to this. You never knew what it felt like to have your birthday on this day and you have it on that. The experiences are completely different, even if the environment was the same.
Yep, exactly.
So it doesn't matter if your friends live the same life as you, same area, same town, same whatever. It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter
at all.
And perception is reality. I had a good friend that was like her slogan, perception is reality. And that is so true, you know, and I think we learned a lot of that, even just in recent years, with the pandemic and everything, there was half the people that were seeing it one way, half the people that were seeing it the other way.
Yeah.
It's still your reality. It was still their reality. You were just living in different ones,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's so true. And I think what a perfect example is this last few years is the absolute divide, but more so on the belief system. And like, yeah, you saw it very clearly. Like the truths were still there. The truth were like, it's so weird.
Yeah, these last few years, definitely. I mean, I think when we were talking earlier before we went live, there is an awakening going on in the collective. And I believe that's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we're on this timeline right now, is because we needed to be a part of that. We wanted to be a part of it. We came to be a part of it. And it's incredible what's happening. It really is. I feel it. I mean, I feel it in the air. I feel, and I don't know, tell me if you relate to this, the energy that I feel now, I mean, this past year and going into 2023 is like astronomical. Like, I truly feel that not only for myself, but for the collective, this is going to be an incredible 12 months that we're coming into.
I've never been more excited. Like, I had a rough go this year. Like, there's been a lot going on. Like, it's been beautiful, but it's been like, and I know 2023, I had to go through what I needed to go through for 2023 to be as big as it is, because I feel it too.
Oh,
it's something special.
Absolutely.
And with the awakening that you kind of saw happening 2019 into 2020 with the pandemic, you saw a big amount of people growing in, stepping into the truth, their truth, their knowing. I think it's even bigger this time around. Like, this next few months going into 2023, I think you're going to see a massive explosion of people just like going, what's happening to my reality? Like, what's really going on? Help me find my foundation. Show me what to do. And we're guiding people inwards, right? We're just going and hopefully just leading and showing people it's all here. It's all, you've already had it, but now it's like people are coming home, right?
Break through the illusion, just break through it.
Yeah.
Society is a big part of that. Obviously there's, I also believe in light energies and dark energies. I think we obviously live in
has to be both,
right? Or a dualistic, polarized reality. So there has to be both. There will always be both. And there's a lot of people coming into the light, and there's a lot of people that are, kind of trying to drop their ego a little bit and really get into, the nitty gritty of this stuff. And why wouldn't they, like I tell people, why wouldn't you want to better yourself? You're here, you know what I mean? Like, you're here, you're in this human body. Like, hopefully you're here for quite some time. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy each moment. Let's make the most of this life. That's what we came here to do. I truly believe we came here to conquer human emotion and human limitations. I think those are the two things. And that's something Dolores Cannon talks about a lot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her.
She's my queen. Don't worry. I know Dolores. Yeah.
She is just the absolute best. But I truly believe that that's what we came here to do.
Yeah,
and
same. That's
why I say on this timeline, it's just, there's no way that's a coincidence. There's no way I was just born right now, just for fun.
Apparently we picked it. Crazy as it is, we picked it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, it resonates deeply. And like, what would you tell someone looking for like that first step? And let's say they're going through that, they're coming out of the dark night. They've never had necessarily an understanding of a higher power or the universe or source or God. Maybe they've had a religious background like myself and they've let that go completely. Maybe they're atheists, or maybe they're coming out and knowing, okay, there's something more. Where do you point them? Like, what do you tell? How do you tell them to start?
Man, such a good question. I think if it's to that extreme and it's somebody that's kind of just straight off the slate, doesn't know what to believe in, which direction to go, my biggest piece of advice is start with meditation and go within and just follow that inner voice, follow that intuition, allow it to come up. Don't silence it, allow it to speak to you. And because we all have it and we can all tap into it, and it's the truth, when it's telling you the truth. Yeah. So I would say start there. And then, after that, I think just diving and getting to know yourself, observing your thoughts, just figuring out, writing down your thoughts, like becoming aware of them. I literally start out by categorizing my thoughts. Like, if I had a money thought, I'd be aware it's a money thought. And then I'd figure out what do I believe about money? You know what I mean? And I'd write it down. Oh, is this helping me or is this holding me back? Oh, that's holding me back. my whole life being told money doesn't grow on trees and all that stuff. That
Right.
has conditioned me to believe that I'm only worthy of so much and I
And
can't
it's
make
scarce. Yeah.
and it's scarce and all that stuff. And when you,
Yeah.
and then you understand that that's what your mindset is. And then you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to delete this because that's not helping me. And I don't want to live like that. That feels like shit. And then you replace it with what's aligned with you. And that just becomes your normal. So my biggest piece of advice would be to start there. And there's so much to learn. And I think that's my other big piece of advice is like, the more you learn, how am I going to say this? The more you learn, the more you realize how much more you have to learn.
Yeah.
It's never ending. And that's why it's exciting to wake up every day because there's always something new.
And watch your ego there too, because I've got caught, like I've been in a place where it's like, I know enough now for this time, for this, whatever, where I'd be like delivered information in like books and things to read. And it's like, my ego would resist it. It's like, no, not right now. But it's like embrace everything that kind of comes into your experience. Obviously use your intuition if it resonates with you or not.
Yeah, sure.
But give stuff a chance because there's so much magic hidden in these little gems that you never thought would bring you value. Like Dolores Cannon's a perfect example. I went probably 2 years of people going, Dolores Cannon. I'm like, yeah, Dolores Cannon. And finally I read Keepers of the Garden and I was just like, holy shit.
Oh, Dolores.
And as being a hypnotherapist, it all started to bring things into my okay, this is what's happening. Of course, this is connecting this dot and that dot. Pay attention to the things that are being put into your experience. And especially if the things kind of keep circling back, like you notice that like a certain book keeps like you're in a bookshop and it's just looking at you right there. And then you're passing by, maybe you're seeing an ad and someone's talking about that book.
Yeah.
It's like your guides aren't messing around. They're just giving you signs and you're not listening. So
there's signs every single day. They're all over the place. And it's crazy. Even myself, probably you, how many we probably miss in a day, honestly, just because we're being human, for a little bit, but yeah, they're all over the place. And I agree with you, follow that. There's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is in alignment and it's all for a greater purpose.
So here's a good question about all for a purpose, all like nothing happens out of coincidence. But there's a couple things here I struggle with. It's like, okay, are these things coming into my experience because I've had active thoughts around this and energy around that person or that thing? Or is this just divine, like it was written in the stars? Because sometimes it's like, well, it's like the car that you started researching, then you see them over and over and over again. They're just everywhere all of a sudden. Is that just more aware of that thing? Or are you actually bringing that into your experience by manifesting more of it? Or like, I maybe asked the question in a poor way, but like, is it just the active thoughts that you've had in the past bringing you these things? Or is it divine, like here, you need this right now? How do you tell the difference? Or is there a difference?
Could it be both? You know what I mean? I definitely think that there are experiences. I think there are lessons that we came here to learn.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know, or maybe I don't necessarily believe that the specific lesson is planned out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Lesson you have to learn, but we're here. We have free
how you
will,
get there is,
so yeah, I think based off of our thoughts and our, our energies and our vibrations, I'm sure we do draw in a lot of experiences, but the experience itself has a core lesson that you're going to learn either way, no matter if it's throughout A, B, or C, you're going to learn it. But based off of what you're doing and your internal state and what your experience is that you're creating is going to lead you into that lesson, if that makes sense. That's my belief.
Yeah. How do we help ourselves and the world, the dopamine filled world? Like, because it's so much easier to not go within or not do what we want to do because we have fucking dopamine at every corner. I catch myself scrolling way too much. I catch myself, whatever it is, there's just dopamine. Like, how do you feel like this is dark forces, like just keep distracting us so we don't go within? Like, what do you feel?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, not to get too deep into that, I guess, but no doubt in my mind, I mean, it's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design. We are all powerful. And imagine if everybody that was just quote unquote, the average Joe just suddenly fucking realize, holy shit, I'm powerful. I don't need to rely on any of this. I can live the life that I choose to live. Can you imagine like what an uproar that would cause? Of course, there's forces that are like, no, you don't need it. And yeah, this thing right here is one of the most distracting things in the world.
Ever in history.
Yeah. Such a great.
Right.
Know, like, so it's a give and take, but you have to disconnect. You have to give yourself that self-discipline to disconnect. Are you familiar with Aaron Doughty at all?
I am.
I love Aaron Doughty. Mm-hmm. One of his podcasts, he was talking about either a book he read or someone he interviewed, but essentially it was just to disconnect from technology. We're so used to, we wake up, our alarm goes off, we get that first kick of dopamine from looking at, like you were saying earlier, looking at the likes that you got, the comments that you got, all this and that. But then you go throughout the day and like, you could get so much more out of your day if you didn't do that, if you didn't get that dopamine hit right off the bat from that phone that's laying next to you. So one thing that I started doing is like the first 2 to 3 hours of the day, I just don't touch my phone. I don't look at it except to turn my alarm off. And that has had such a big impact. And there are some days where it's like so automatic. All of a sudden I'm just aware that I'm looking at my phone while I'm drying my hair. Like, what in the hell? Why am I doing that? But it's just becoming aware of it and then just kind of disconnecting. Going out in nature, that's a huge one, just to like be.
I think it's one of the, if not the easiest free hacks we have in life is to get the fuck outside.
Yes.
And it's easy to go, oh yeah, of course. No, we don't get outside enough. All of us. And when you do put an effort to go, hey, maybe I'll just do a 10-minute walk. Like for me, it's been shoveling my driveway. Like we've been getting snow. And I've just been like, loving shoveling and pushing snow because not only am I exerting it, like I'm really getting active, which I really like to move my body, but I'm outside and I'm breathing in the cold air and I'm taking a break and I'm looking out like to the horizon and I'm seeing the birds for 2 minutes and I'm going back to it. And I just realized that I went through a little bit of a rut through the holidays. I was like, oh, I just need to insert more nature. Like just bring more nature into my experience. Something as small as just getting outside for 10 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, probably where you live as well, but like in Michigan, like that's one of the reasons it gets a bad rep because around this time of year, it's just gray, the sun hardly comes out. When it does, it's like a miracle.
Sure.
But seasonal depression, I mean, that's such a real thing because people, they're not outside as much, you know what I mean? And they're bunkered down in their homes and their faces in their phone and in the computer and just aimlessly scrolling through Twitter. And then you close Twitter and you go into Instagram and you close that and you go back into Twitter. And that's all you do. But just having that awareness, disconnecting and, like you said, go outside. If it's cold, who cares? Bundle up, go for a walk for 10 minutes. Go just, if you're by water, I love going to look at water, especially this time of year. It's so pretty when it freezes and just reconnect with nature. I mean, Gaia, the spirit of earth, and just you feel connected with everything. I think when you do that, you start to understand that like we are all one. Everything is connected. Everything is energy. Everything's connected, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, this world we overcomplicate. I think the mental health game. Like there's so many things to do. Like there's meditation. There's this. There's that. There's cold therapy. But what have you been for a walk in the last 3 years? Like have you just gone for a walk and just gone outside? Like I'm not saying everybody's that's not going to be the end all be all for your mental health journey, but we overcomplicate it. And because we have so much going on social media and everything else, it's like flashy lights, squirrel, next thing, shiny thing. It's like you said, it, disconnect to reconnect basically.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. It really is. At least try it, and there's a lot of people that, like you said, it's right there. It's you literally open your door and you go outside and it's just, but people, they don't do it. I don't think they even realize that they should, a lot of the time. So yeah. Cool.
So I can't believe it's almost time.
I know.
Where can everybody find you? We'll make sure to put your links in the description, but where can everybody find you on your social?
Yeah. So really the only social I have right now is TikTok. And it's just @thecosmicvegan. Cool. I'm vegan as well. That's been part of my spiritual journey. And that kind of goes like we were talking about earlier, you don't push things on people and they come. I'm not one of those pushy vegans, I promise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see that with everything. It could be the carnivore diet. It could be the ice plunge or the cold therapy. People love to. It's not just the vegans that are like that.
It's not, but they get the worst rep, I feel.
Yeah.
But they are pushy. A lot of us just need some chill. Calm down.
Yeah. You can't change people by telling them what to do, right?
No, let them be.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So cool. So they can catch you there. Your links are in your bio on TikTok to work with you or inquire or anything.
Yep, links are in the bio. Like I said, I'm working on a online course right now. So that I would say early 2023 coming out, February, March timeline. That's going to be awesome. It's going to allow me to reach a bunch of people at once. Make a bigger impact. And like I said, we're going to work on your mental state, shifting it into a more predominantly positive mentality. We're going to work on your internal state. We're going to look at your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, the stories you tell yourselves, really crack down on that stuff. And we're going to fix your internal state and you're going to become the most magnetic, most attractive version of yourself.
I love it. I love it. So I have 2 final questions for my guests.
Sure.
You've never been on the show, so I'm going to ask you to be vulnerable. I'm going to ask you to maybe push it a little bit. Is there anything you haven't shared that you think can bring some value to the world right now? Is there anything that you haven't really expressed before? Yeah.
Man, this is a good one. Oh man, never expressed before, like.
Well, or something you have. It doesn't have to be something you've never expressed before. Is there something that you could be vulnerable that you think could just bring value to people watching, or it could just be some knowledge, a piece of wisdom?
I'm just gonna go with the first thing that came to mind. And I've said it kind of already in this podcast, but be your authentic self and do not be afraid to be your authentic self. And that goes for anything that is authentic to you, whatever your beliefs are, your sexuality, who you want to surround yourself with, what you want to consume, what you want to listen to. Stop worrying about what everybody else is going to think about that, because it's your life. This is your journey. You are the creator. You can't worry about that stuff. I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned is just drop the fear of judgment. Step into that frame, and it's going to feel so good once you step into it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that came to mind. I think that's huge. And I think most people are not authentic in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, it's scary. There's some fear around being authentic. And a lot of us have been judged, or a lot of people have been, made to feel a certain way because they were themselves at one point or another in their life, maybe their childhood. So a lot of people shut down. But I think it's important for you, people like yourself, leading by example, leading by showing up your authentic way. And I think that's the way we teach, right? We just.
Yeah. And let go of the labels too. That's a big one. We put ourselves in these boxes and it just naturally happens. Don't be afraid to change your mind too. If you resonated with something a year ago, but that doesn't resonate with you anymore, don't be afraid to change your mind. Stand up for what you now believe in, because all that is growth, and it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it's painful.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Just don't put that. I hate labels. I hate them. I can't stand them. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm a liberal or I'm a conservative or I'm this or that or whatever. Just because you can always learn, you can always change your mind, and you get yourself stuck there, and then you become afraid, and now you're not authentic.
Well, you're afraid because you've said, well, I've been this to everybody. I can't go back on that and change. You create this new avatar, this new identity, and now you're scared to break that, just like you were scared to break it as you woke up. You came into yourself. You were scared to break that too. Don't be scared to break this part of you.
Exactly. So that's what came to mind. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
I love it. So last question, what makes you feel alive? Like what's making you feel the most alive in your life right now?
Connecting with people, connecting with myself, connecting with nature, connecting with my visions, just connection in general. Like I said, I wake up every single day the happiest, most confident version of me. And I think it only gets better. And a lot of that is through truly connecting, genuine, intentional connection.
Right.
So that's what's motivating me. That's what's keeping me going at this point in time. And I just can't wait to see what else life has in store for me, because I know it's good.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Episode 28, I guess that's a wrap. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sharing your story. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks everyone for checking it out. Nancy, Low Wolf, Christina, I see you. My dad just popped in to say hi.
Hi,
What's
Dad.
going on, Dad? Nancy. Oh, who else didn't I say hi to? Tasha, Mary, Brenda. Appreciate all your support. Make sure you hit the like button and the follow button or subscribe button if you haven't yet. We'll see you all next week. There's 11 viewers. That's 111 right there. I'll take that.
Hey, there you go.
All right, Tayler, just hang out in the back studio for me, and we'll see you all later. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.